Life in the mountains is harsh, so the local herbivores are cooler than most of their relatives from the lowlands. Just look at this aggressive duel between two sheep. They don't care where to fight, in a safe place or right on the edge of the abyss. Two ungulates fight uncompromisingly, but without excessive bloodlust. They don't use hooves or sneaky punches, just straightforward ramming tactics. The goal is to find out who is the coolest in the herd, who will be the leader, and to get all the attention of the females. For the sake of this motivation, the rams will fight desperately. The horns of a ram have a very wide bone base in the frontal part of the animal's skull. This is exactly the shock part of the horns. In addition, the ram has the ability to accelerate quickly with a punch. Here the animal is standing, and now it is rushing at the enemy with maximum speed. The clash of the two rivals looks pretty epic. The encounter seems to stun both animals for a second, but there are no serious injuries due to the skull and neck structure adapted to such loads. The impact reverberates throughout the valley. However, fighting is not the only impressive way that mountain ungulates can fight back against enemies. These animals have learned to use this as a weapon: mountaineering. Do you think that this is a joke? Not at all. When this huge, terrifying grizzly bear spotted a family of mountain goats, he was almost just licking his lips. Ungulates are almost helpless against this half-ton predator. And the steep ledge makes their retreat extremely difficult. There's nowhere to run. It's useless to fight. But the bear didn't know who he was dealing with. 3 members of the goat family, instead of running in panic, simply went to the steepest part of the sheer cliff, where the stone from a long distance generally seems smooth. The bear here is at a loss. He underestimated the abilities of his opponents. The 3 goats are huddled against a stone in such a narrow area that the bear himself would never have stood. The predator spent some time waiting. He thought that it would be difficult for his prey to stay there. But the goats will either fall or try to get out of there. Not at all. It's very comfortable there. They look at the bear and seem to be mocking it. They are completely safe there and can stay longer than the predator has enough patience. And so it happened. The bear was forced to retreat. However, do not underestimate bears. Some grizzlies choose the Rocky Mountains as their place of residence. These giant predators don't give the impression of being good climbers, do they? Well, no need to think in stereotypes. The agility of brown giants accustomed to mountaineering is perfectly pumped up. Just look at this adult bear climbing up the cliff. The angle is almost vertical, and although there are not such few hooks, not every professional climber will dare to climb to a height of about the 7th floor without insurance. We would urge you not to try to repeat the feat of this bear on your own. But you've got to admit, the spirit of this predator's bravery is breathtaking, no? It seems that the bear is taking climbing lessons from the professionals. Pay attention to how a wild animal adheres to the same rules. It retains 3 points of support before moving up, leans on its legs, and pushes off with them instead of trying to pull itself up with his hands. And he also creeps up to the rock, presses his stomach against it. In general, this beast clearly has many years of experience in conquering the peaks. Bears like to diversify their menu with plant foods like berries, nuts, roots, and green parts of plants. They also love honey. But in the mountains, due to the colder climate and lack of fertile soil, they much more often have to remember that they were given fangs and claws just for hunting, and not for just hacking beehives. The camera caught an impressive bear hunting deer. The predator single-handedly attacked an entire herd of horned animals. To do this, he went down the mountain, took acceleration, and went on the attack. The bear managed to get close enough to the deer without being noticed. And then he broke into a heavy gallop, which deliberately revealed his presence. The attack of such a giant caused panic in the ranks of the ungulates, so that the bear was able to choose the most suitable prey. a deer that lags behind the rest. And the herd will not protect him because of the panic. This chase was captured on camera in the Yellowstone National Wildlife Refuge, the territory of which is occupied by the Rocky Mountains with their valleys, plateaus, lowlands, and many ridges. On the other hemisphere, in the mountains of Spain, one of the most epic, tragic, and intense scenes involving bears took place. As you can see, an aggressive male noticed a female with cubs. These are other people's cubs. The male decided to deal with them in order to get rid of future competition and probably claim the female in the next mating season. Although the family of bears tried to hide among the sharp rocks with many depressions and bends, the mighty male caught up with them. And then the events unfolded as if in a thriller. A brave mother covered her offspring with her own body. It was impossible to get around it. There was a cliff on one side and a sheer cliff on the other. The narrow path was blocked by an angry female, ready to fight to the end to save her babies. Meanwhile, the kids were retreating. In a panic, they retreated back to such narrow ledges hidden among the rocks on which an adult bear would not be able to place even 2 of its paws. But all of these tricks did not help. In a rage, the bear attacked the female, and a tense duel began right over the abyss between them. The bear rested her paws on the stone, did not let the male, who uses his entire arsenal. The weight of such a huge bear is more than half a ton. The female is about 1.5 times lighter. Therefore, powerful crushing blows with her paws leave her no chance of victory. The male easily crushes her underneath him. A desperate rebuff only increases his rage, and the female bites and beats the bear, but a thick layer of subcutaneous fat plays the role of natural armor, protecting the male from critical damage. But when falling off the cliff right into the abyss with her, the male could not resist such a powerful throw. They fell down together from about the height of the 5th floor, and then the more massive male was also dragged down the sharp rocks and rocks. Such impacts on the rocks, even for powerful heavyweight predators like this, are a serious test. Both animals are stunned. We can only hope that the bears will survive, the female will come to her senses before the male wakes up, and will be able to take the kids to a safer place. The cougar has many names. It is also called a cougar or a mountain lion. Although its habitat is very diverse and the cougar can be found in many parts of South, Central, and North America, part of its population lives in the mountains. And there, these cats demonstrate their full power like nowhere else. For example, there was a rare video recording of a bear and a cougar converging on a narrow mountain path. The bear has almost a 5-fold advantage in weight and sheer physical strength, and this predator is used to the fact that its main problem is to catch up with the victim, and then nobody will be able to resist him. The bear is used to taking what he wants, but here he clearly underestimated his opponent. The cougar rage is more powerful than any steroids. A predatory cat immediately shows the enemy that he messed with her in vain. The bear probably expects the cougar to use the weapon it threatens him with, the fangs. The mistake: first, the cougar strikes a series of powerful blows with its paws. Like other cats, in battles with their carnivorous competitors, the mountain lion prefers to start with boxing and then move to the stalls. The cougar attracts the enemy and bites him in vulnerable places, for example, in the throat. The cougar is a serious threat to livestock that are brought out to graze in the valleys of the Andes. Therefore, for local farmers, the cougar, with all the strength and nobility of this predator, is still, first of all, a threat and an enemy. To protect the flocks of sheep and other livestock, several breeds of herding dogs with impressive fighting and physical qualities were bred there. The breeders tried to create a monster that could fight a cougar even one-on-one. Well, you really can't deny these dogs' aggression. They attacked the enemy from different sides, clung with their powerful jaws, and tried to tear him apart. There are 3 dogs, 1 cougar, and it seems that a couple more minutes and this will be the last day of the predator. But the dogs underestimated the cougar. She alone was able not only to give the dogs an impressive and powerful rebuff with claws and its fangs, but also managed to literally throw one of them off a cliff. During the battle, the animals locked into a tangle of rage and strength and then fell down the slope together. But at the same time, the cougar turned out to be the only animal that remained in a winning position. Thanks to the cat's agility, she managed to dodge in the fall and avoid any serious damage. You can't say the same thing about dogs. They counted every stone with their heads and ribs. Such a tactical trick saved the mountain lion. The dogs are stunned. They are still fighting, but there is no longer any question of encircling the enemy. The cougar was able to escape from an almost hopeless situation and escape. The dogs could only lick wounds that turned out to be much more serious than their opponent's injuries, and this with such a numerical advantage. They clearly lost this fight right here. This epic battle of musk oxen and a pack of wolves compresses with its cinematography. Predators surrounded herbivores during a blizzard. The cold wind is lashing. The animals are cold to stand in one place. The snow blocks visibility, but the ungulates stand like a solid stone wall. Each attack of the wolves almost ends fatally for themselves. The musk oxen stand in a tight formation and cover each other up. It is impossible to break through the defense or provoke someone's failure. If the wolf gets too close, it will be lifted on its horns or trampled before the others arrive to help. If the wolf opposite turns out to be too far away, then the sight of his grinning fangs will not make any impression on the musk ox. As a result, the wolves have to retreat and look for easier prey. They underestimated the coolness of these ungulates. But why can wolves cause panic in a huge herd of bison and drive hundreds of animals, each of which reaches a ton, and they are powerless against musk oxen? After all, musk oxen are almost 3 times smaller than bison. Where did they get such courage? It turns out that although this impressive confrontation scene took place in the Arctic lowlands near the shores of the Arctic Ocean, then wolves are dealing with a very, very proud animal. Probably the majority of modern mountain animals are descendants of those inhabitants of the lowlands, who with each generation went higher and higher, inhabiting free ecological niches. This was most likely the case with the snow leopard, whose closest relative is the tiger. It's just that one went to the lowlands and the other went up into the mountains. With the musk ox, the situation is the exact opposite. Now this animal lives in the Arctic latitudes, Siberia, North America, and Greenland. But according to scientists, musk oxen are former inhabitants of the mountains. It is the distant Himalayas that are the birthplace of this ungulate species. Musk oxen thrive there, but didn't really go down since their bodies are adapted only to cold climates. Well, it's easy to see why musk oxen have become so successful. Just look at this one-hoofed animal that gives an impressive rebuff to several wolves at once. It takes a whole pack to deal with them. But these are polar wolves, one of the strongest and largest on the planet. But the musk ox fights them fiercely and holds a siege against them all for a long time. Musk oxen, by the way, are close relatives of mountain sheep, not bulls. And now the last ice age has come, after which musk oxen began to spread across Eurasia. And they even reached North America through the Bering Strait. When the climate warmed up again, the musk oxen migrated closer to the North Pole, where the cold temperature was still comfortable for them. But there are none left in the Himalayas. It turns out that the musk ox is a mountain animal that lives in the lowlands, but has retained its main features like warm fur and other features.